The first thing everyone noticed was the way Adrian Hale walked into the ballroom with a woman no one had ever seen before, his hand steady on the small of her back, his smile calm, almost defiant. The second thing they noticed was the way his ex-fiancée froze mid-laugh when she saw him. In that instant, the engagement party meant to celebrate her future cracked open the past neither of them had truly buried. Adrian hadn't planned to come. He was the CEO of a rapidly rising tech company, a man who lived by forecasts and risk management, not impulse. But the invitation had arrived anyway, thick cream paper, elegant script, a polite lie wrapped in gold trim. "We would love for you to join us." It felt less like an invitation and more like a dare. Adrian had stared at it for days, remembering the last time he'd promised forever to Lydia Moore in a much smaller room with much less certainty. The woman beside him now was named Clara Reyes. At least, that's what he'd told everyone. In truth, she was his executive assistant, sharp-eyed, quietly funny, and far too observant for her own good. The plan had been ridiculous when it first formed in Adrian's exhausted mind at midnight. Bring a pretend girlfriend. Prove you're fine. Don't let the past get the last word. Clara had listened, arms crossed, eyebrows raised, and then surprised him by saying yes. They had rules. No overacting. No lies beyond what was necessary. One night only. Clara wore a navy dress that made her look confident and unbreakable, and Adrian wore the suit he reserved for acquisitions and endings. As they stepped into the glittering hall, he felt the familiar tightening in his chest. Lydia had loved rooms like this. Loved being the center of them. Lydia looked radiant. That was the hardest part. She stood beside her fiancé, Mark, a man with an open smile and an earnest posture, someone who seemed built for stability. When Lydia's eyes met Adrian's, the smile faltered, just for a breath, but it was enough. Years of unsaid things rushed between them like a storm no one else could hear. Introductions were inevitable. Lydia approached with practiced grace, her ring catching the light. "Adrian," she said, as if testing the sound of his name after all this time. "I didn't know you were seeing someone." "I am," Adrian replied, and felt Clara's fingers tighten around his arm, grounding him. "This is Clara." Clara smiled, warm and composed. "Congratulations. It's a beautiful evening." Mark shook Adrian's hand, friendly, unaware of the emotional landmine beneath his feet. "Glad you could make it. Lydia's told me a lot about you." Adrian doubted that. Or perhaps she had told him too much. Either way, the words settled like dust. As the night unfolded, Adrian played his part. He laughed when expected, told stories carefully edited for public consumption, and kept his gaze steady. Clara was perfect, asking thoughtful questions, listening with genuine interest, fitting into conversations like she'd always belonged there. It unsettled him how easy it felt. How natural. But the past has a way of slipping through cracks. A song began to play, the one Lydia had wanted for their first dance, years ago. Adrian felt it hit like a bruise pressed too hard. Lydia noticed too. Their eyes met across the room, and for a moment the noise fell away. He excused himself and stepped onto the balcony, the cool night air sharp against his skin. He told himself he was here for closure, for proof that he'd moved on. Instead, his thoughts replayed old arguments, his obsession with work, her longing to feel chosen. He'd told himself he was building a future for them. She'd felt like a placeholder in his ambition. Clara joined him quietly. "You don't have to do this," she said. "We can leave." "I don't want to run," he replied. "Not anymore." She studied him, really looked, and something softened in her expression. "You know," she said gently, "pretending works best when there's a little truth in it." Inside, Lydia was unraveling too. Watching Adrian with Clara stirred something she hadn't expected, jealousy mixed with regret. Mark noticed her distraction, concern creasing his brow. Lydia loved Mark. He was kind, present, everything Adrian hadn't been when it mattered. But love didn't erase the echo of a life once imagined. When Lydia finally approached Adrian again, it was with resolve. "Can we talk?" she asked, nodding toward a quiet corner. Clara hesitated, then smiled politely. "I'll get us some water." Alone, Lydia's composure cracked. "I didn't think you'd come. And I didn't think it would feel like this." "I didn't think either," Adrian admitted. "That was kind of our problem." She laughed softly, a sad sound. "I waited so long for you to choose me over everything else." "I know," he said. "And I'm sorry I learned too late what that cost." There it was, the apology that had never come when it might have changed everything. Lydia exhaled, as if releasing a weight she'd carried for years. "I needed to hear that," she said. "I really did." Clara returned, sensing the shift. Adrian introduced her again, this time without pretense in his voice. Lydia studied Clara with new eyes and smiled, genuine now. "Take care of him," she said quietly. "I will," Clara replied, surprising them both. As the party wound down, Mark called Lydia to the dance floor. She went willingly, joy reclaiming her posture. Adrian watched, not with longing, but with peace. Something had finally settled. On the drive home, silence filled the car, comfortable, thoughtful. Adrian glanced at Clara. "Thank you," he said. "For tonight. For everything." She shrugged lightly. "You didn't need a pretend girlfriend," she said. "You needed closure." He smiled. "And what if I don't want pretending to end?" She met his gaze, eyes honest. "Then we start over. For real. Slowly. No performances." Adrian realized then that what had changed wasn't Lydia's engagement or his own pride, it was his understanding of love. Not as a reward at the finish line, but as a choice made daily, with presence and humility. The next morning, he sent Lydia a message wishing her happiness. Then he showed up at work early, coffee in hand, and asked Clara if she'd like dinner that night. No contracts, no scripts. Sometimes, life doesn't change with grand gestures, but with quiet truths finally spoken. And sometimes, the person who helps you face your past becomes the one you choose for your future, not because you need to prove anything, but because you're finally ready to begin.